Welcome to Speaking Holistically, the podcast that explores the power of alternative medicine, natural healing, and homeopathic solutions to help you achieve true wellness. Each week, Dr. Jen and Amy G dive into the world of holistic health, discussing researched, time-tested remedies with expert insights from Dr. Jen, as well as real-life stories from patients to empower you to take charge of your health. So if you're ready to embrace a more natural path to wellness, let's start speaking holistically, because true healing begins from within. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Speaking Holistically. I'm your co-host, Amy G. I'm here with my amazing co-host, Dr. Jen, and a special guest today, Dr. Ada, who is a chiropractor in Lakeway Wellness, working with Dr. Jen. And I'm very excited about this episode because I understand just a little bit. I just got a little information that you do different techniques than Dr. Jen in the office. And I'm excited to hear about those. But first, I want to know, and I'm sure our listeners want to know, how did you meet Dr. Jen?
Yeah, so I met Dr. Jen actually through my mom. My mom was a patient of Dr. Jen's, and I had not been exposed to chiropractic before. I was working in the hospital system, never really heard about chiropractors, and my mom's like, I'm having these weird health issues, but I'm seeing this chiropractor who's actually helping me through a lot of those health issues. She's like, you gotta go, you gotta go. And so I eventually made an appointment and started seeing her, Dr. Jen, and she helped me with my own health issues as well.
Wow, that's fascinating. I mean, I love that you gave her the opportunity when you really had no background or knowledge, like you didn't have any experience with chiropractic, and you were willing to let her, treat you. I just think that's very open-minded of you.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of patients who are in the same boat, they've seen other healthcare providers such as medical doctors, physical therapists, and they're not getting the answers that they really need. And chiropractic is not super widely known. And I think more people are giving it a chance because they're not getting the answers that they need in Western medicine and allopathic medicine.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, there are a lot of people who are getting the answers that they're looking for through Western medicine or traditional medicine and stuff like that, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of people who keep coming up against walls and they're not getting the answers that they're looking for. Sometimes now it's just based on managing their symptoms, but that doesn't actually mean that that's making you healthier. So people either come to us because we're the third most popular healthcare profession in the country after medical doctors and dentists. So we actually take care of hundreds of millions of patients a year. But the thing about it is that people either have been coming to us since birth or since adolescence or whatever, or they're coming to us a little bit later, which I would consider later, obviously, because I've been adjusted since I was 2 days old. But they're coming to us a little bit later because they're not getting the answers, they're not feeling better, like their thyroid numbers, are continually changing and they keep getting put on more and more thyroid medications, which tells you it's not fixing the problem, it's just trying to remedy the symptoms. So they're looking for answers outside of what they've been given. So yeah, and there's a huge gamut of chiropractic too. There's over 200 different chiropractic, techniques, and a lot of people don't know that. So I always tell people, like, I may not be the person or use the technique that is best for what your nervous system or emotional state requires at that moment. So that's why I'm so grateful to have Dr. Ada in the office. And we'll get into that a little bit more because she does similar techniques to me, but she also does some other things as well. So yeah, so she came, her mom is amazing. Hi, Carlos. And then he referred Dr. Ada into the office, who was just Ada at that point. And so yeah, it was fun. I love my patients mainly because they're all referrals for the most part. So if somebody likes me and I like them, then they're usually hanging out or have people similar to that. So, I mean, going to the office is super fun. It's not like, I have to go in again because somebody picked me off a list somewhere. So anyway, so Dr. Ada came into the office and she's always been like one of my favorites.
Thank you.
So what made you make the leap from being her patient to going, I want to do this as a profession?
It's kind of a twofold story. First, after that, I was working in the laboratory at the hospital, the local children's hospital here. And at a children's hospital, it's very hard, with the patient base that they have. all hospitals are emotionally hard. And for me, I feel a lot of that. So it's very, very draining. But I really wanted to be in that field of helping people. So I started shadowing other medical doctors, anesthesiologists, just trying to branch out and see where I could go from the lab. And it was really eye-opening because although they do great work, medical doctors do great work in their field, it wasn't what I was looking for. And like Dr. Jen had said, they really kind of mask a lot of symptoms. And that was just not really where I wanted to be. And a lot of the medical doctors weren't necessarily excited about their work. I'm super excited about my work and going in as a chiropractor and seeing the patient. So I definitely noticed that in the medical doctors. And I was like, this just doesn't feel congruent with who I want to be. So I started looking for other jobs. And this was still before I had met Dr. Jen. And I ended up at another laboratory facility doing some government work. And then COVID happened. And my job had started to mandate the vaccine. At this point, I had met Dr. Jen. We had those vaccine conversations. I was definitely indoctrinated in Western medicine and was getting the vaccines every year. And when the COVID vaccine came up and how quickly it really got pushed through the system, it really made me pause and think. And with the help of Dr. Jen, I was like, this doesn't really, again, doesn't seem congruent with who I am and who I want to be for health-wise. And so I kind of prayed on it. I asked God, I was like, what do we do here? You know, if you really want me to go and be a chiropractor, then mandate the vaccine at my job. And of course they did. So I was like, okay, this is my sign. And so I quit my job and left to become a chiropractor.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the happy dance.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So you were like, I'm not going to do this.
Right.
This is my sign. I love that actually. Wow.
And I didn't really feel like fighting to get religious exemption or trying to fight the system because, again, that also wasn't congruent. And I can actually fight the system as a chiropractor on the other side of things. So in a different way.
That's a really good point. Yeah. So
Yeah.
can you get into the techniques that you use that are different from Dr. Jen's?
Yeah. So the biggest technique that I use, which I love, it's called BGI, and it stands for Biogeometric Integration. A really long title, so we just stick to BGI.
Thank God for acronyms.
Yes. Yep. So BGI was founded by Sue Brown. She started out as a marine biologist,
Wow.
scientist, yep, out in California, and also decided that she wanted to help people, so became a chiropractor through her sister, so who's also a chiropractor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she actually started with another chiropractic technique called network. It was called network spinal analysis at the time. Now it's just network. And she did a lot of network. And through her work as a chiropractor, she noticed that certain things would come up and actually had patterns to them. So she just started, as a scientist, she started mapping out all the patterns and found the natural geometry that everybody has in their bodies.
Wow.
So it's really amazing to see this geometry show up. And with BGI, we're looking for the tension that's getting stored in the soft tissues.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just map it through the geometry that you have so that way we can release that tension in a super easeful manner when your body is ready in that moment in time.
Wow. That's fascinating.
So
That makes a lot of sense.
I was actually adjusted by Sue Brown, Dr. Sue Brown. She has since passed, but she was up in the Chicago area, and it was one of those fateful things, like what Dr. Ada was saying, like, hey, if they mandate the vaccine, I'm out of here, you know, and if they don't, then I may hang around and figure out what else I'm going to do. Like, let's just see where this takes us. So long story short, it was almost summer break, and I was heading out to Chicago, and I walked past somebody in the quad at school, in chiropractic school, and they said, oh, what are you doing for summer? And I said, I'm heading to Chicago. She's like, oh, are you going to go see Sue Brown? And I was like, no, I mean, not even on my radar. Didn't even know who that was. Like, I'd sort of heard of her, but I wasn't that far along in the program for the adjusting to start looking at all the different techniques and stuff. So I actually had meningitis, and the symptoms just kept getting worse and worse and worse, to the point that I could barely take a step and put my foot on a stair because it would pull down my spinal cord so hard that I was just in excruciating pain. So I've been getting adjusted, taking my supplements, doing everything I was supposed to be doing, and nothing seemed to be going in the right direction, to be very honest with you. So I was like, okay, well, I'm game for anything. Let's try another technique. Let's see what happens with my body. So, and I think that's why I love chiropractic, because if one of them doesn't do it for you, especially at that time, then great, try something else, right? So I go to Chicago, I call her office, and I was like, hey, I'm a chiropractic student. Is there any way that you can see me? And so the front desk was like, yeah, go ahead and come in, blah, blah, blah. So I walked in, and they had their shoes off. Everyone took their shoes off. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. That's not something I'd ever seen before. And I thought, I kind of like that. It's like leaving all your outside junk at the door so that you can come in and be ready for whatever you're there for. So I actually integrated that into my office, and everybody takes their shoes off when they come in right at the front. It also keeps the office way cleaner, especially with all of our red clay here in Tennessee. Did you hear that? So I go back there, and this is completely different. I mean, I've been adjusted since I was 2 days old, from tons of different chiropractors, tons of different techniques, that I've never been exposed to this. And I'd had a friend, Dr. Judy Knowles, who's in Texas, but she adjusted me with network. And I was like, I felt stuff that I didn't think I would ever feel. So that really opened my mind to more of these low force techniques, because I was always adjusted with very aggressive chiropractic, and I always responded really great to that. So when Judy actually adjusted me with NSA, with network, I was like, holy cow, my body felt like I'd been hit by a truck the next day. And I'm thinking, there was no popping, there was nothing, like, how did I do that, or how did that happen? So that kind of opened my mind to try BGI. So I went in there, and Sue had like 7 tables in one room, and she had people laying face down on the tables. And I was like, okay, like, we've got open adjusting. All right, I'll go with this, and she would go from one table to the next. And I was just like, what in the heck? So I'm still like, I'm not sure about this, but she never asked me how I was feeling. She never asked me, like, nothing. She just said, okay, go ahead and lay down. And she basically could see what was happening in my body. And when she was done, I hear people writhing and moving and moaning and all sorts of stuff going on. And I was like this, face down on the table, like, what the heck, And so she comes back to me a couple of times, touches me in different places. And I'm like, all right, I'm not sure I'm feeling much of anything, but all right, like, whatever. And the people next to me sure are feeling stuff. And I'm like, okay. So she goes, okay, you're all done. She pats me, and I was like, okay. So I sit up, and she was like, so what was happening was your spinal cord has so much tension, it was pulling your brain to the bottom of your skull. And she was explaining exactly how I was feeling. Like, exactly. If I could have found those words, they would have been the words I would have used to explain exactly how my body was feeling. And I was completely freaked out about that. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, all right, I'll go with it. And she's like, listen, don't get in the car right away. Walk around the parking lot for a little bit before you get in the car. And I'm like, okay. So I did. And I'm like, how long am I supposed to be walking? Like, I literally had no idea what I was supposed to be expecting. So later that day, still didn't really feel much change. The next day I was like, I might be 10 to 15% better. And then I was like, the next day I felt even better. And I was walking up the stairs and not having the tension anymore. And literally within 5 days, I had no pain in my entire body.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what is this magic, right? So, and how you say about with me and adjusting, like, oh, she's magical. I was like, Dr. Ada and Dr. Sue and all these chiropractors can be magical as well because of the different techniques. So at that point, that was the technique my body absolutely needed. And it was one adjustment, one session with her, right? So Dr. Ada's doing BGI, and now I see her. I also see Dr. Kyle, because our hands are different. We all adjust differently. So Dr. Ada adjusts me, and she uses BGI, and I can tell you, she'll touch one spot, and I'll have like horrible type low back pain. And so I just listen to my body, and I'll bring both my knees up And then all of a sudden I feel all of that dissipate. And so I'll bring my legs back down and the low back pain's gone. And then she'll touch something in my scapula. And then I'll feel something in this neck. And then that moves. And I mean, I don't know. I know I'm supposed to be all scientific in this. She's the one that did, took more of the courses with that, because it was a newer technique when I was in school 20 something years ago. Right. So I didn't have really much education with that technique. So, but I mean, it's crazy because I'm like, oh yeah. And then she'll integrate the osseous or more of the popping type adjusting too with certain people as needed. And so she'll do that with me sometimes. And I'm like, holy cow. And a lot of times people get emotional releases because we don't realize how much our bodies hold on to that tension or that emotion, which creates tension in the body. Yeah. So, and Dr. Ada's energy, like I come in like a wrecking ball. Dr. Kyle and I, that's how we are. Ada comes in, she has totally different energy in the office, which is really great. So there's some people that I might be a little
like, everything's great, that's me.
And I'm like, hey, and Ada's like, how are you? And she's very calm. So
she feels, I get the Zen vibe from her, definitely.
100%. She's amazing. So our office has a lot of different energy in it, and sometimes it's a little too much for her on certain days. but I mean, the patients absolutely love her. So it's awesome to have her in the office as a colleague now, as opposed to just a patient. So what I really love is, Dr. Ada has had both experiences of being in the office, one as a patient and understanding how your body heals and how long it can take to heal, not just to get rid of the symptoms, right? And sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower, just depending on what you're doing at home and how far in the progression of the illness or dis-ease you've gotten yourself. But she also is there as a physician and understands both aspects of it. So it's super fun for me because she didn't just come into this like, oh, I think I want to do this. It's like most people find chiropractic because they have a story. Something led them there. It wasn't just like, well, I don't know, I didn't know what else to do, so I just figured I would do that. It's because you had experiences. And if you look on most chiropractors' websites, you'll see that they have their story. They have a story of an injury or something where they decided to go to a chiropractor. Their parents took them to a chiropractor. And then the story just goes on from there, and it changed their lives. I mean, that's what happened with my mom. My dad drugged my mom to a chiropractor. Next thing you know, she's like, we have to do this, and they've been chiropractors for over 50 years. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, so her story it's just like everybody else's, and it's also very unique, but she's amazing in the office and the patients absolutely love her.
Yeah. I can see why. Like I said, I feel this Zen energy about her, and I feel like that's going to just be, the patients are going to take that on and go, oh, come into the office and feel that way, which is it's important because for some people, if they're new to chiropractic, they are going to be anxious or nervous or what's about to happen. So I think just your natural calm, Dr. Ada, is probably very helpful in the adjusting room because some people, they get very nervous and they don't know what to expect. And if their first time ever being adjusted, or if they've had a bad experience and they're giving chiropractic another chance, I just think that couldn't help but be just an added benefit that you bring that kind of energy into every appointment, every patient you see. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And one thing that I'd like to add to that is even people who have seen Dr. Jen for many years, they may be going into a different phase in their life that really heightens their nervous system. And it is nice to have those different options and different approaches to meet them in those phases of life, even though they love all the crack Snapple pops, but they may not necessarily need that day.
Well, and that's the one thing that I also do is with my patients. I mean, in our office, it's not about us. We don't have any ego issues. If you need a PT, I will send you out to a PT. If you need to go see a cardiologist, I will send you to a cardiologist. I don't have any problem with it. This is not about me. This is not my story. This is everyone's story. This is what they need to do for themselves. So there's times where I'll say, hey, listen, next visit, I need you to see Dr. Ada or Dr. Kyle. And they're like, why? Are you trying to get rid of me? And I'm like, holy cow, like, no. Yeah. This is not about me. This is about you and what you need right now. And other people are like, oh, okay, I'll try them or whatever. And some people are nervous to try them. I'm like, look, I'll come in and I'll be there with you. And, because it's somebody new. So you're dealing not with just their physical bodies, but where they are emotionally and mentally at that time. So that's the beauty of it, is that in our office we have three totally different chiropractors that do similar techniques yet different enough that there's plenty of room for the care that each patient needs. And it
Yeah,
doesn't hurt.
there's something for everyone.
Yeah, and if somebody doesn't like me or the way I adjust, okay, fine with me. Like we don't all have to get along all the time. You know what I mean? Like it's not a big deal to me. And like I said, we don't have our egos are not the forefront of what our practice is. It's the patient. And so Dr. Adel will be like, hey, can you come in and check this or whatever on this patient? And I'll say, hey, I need you for this patient. And same thing with Dr. Kyle. Like sometimes we tag team on a visit because there's something that we're maybe stronger in as far as the skill goes that patient needs. And so that is the beauty, is that we don't have any of those issues. And we have got two great massage therapists. Heather does the fascia blasting and some other stuff, but Mandy does this neuromuscular integration. So we all refer to each other and there's no ego issues whatsoever. So it's a beautiful place to be. But like I said, Dr. Ada's techniques are super cool. And she also does dry needling too. So that's fun.
Oh, we did talk to Dr. Kyle about that. Yeah, which it's honestly the healing, the speed of healing with the dry needling is insane. Like it's crazy what a difference that makes. I had no
Yeah,
idea.
and actually, I've had a couple patients who I do dry needling and BGI at the same time.
Oh,
Because that tension is in those muscles, I can get that needle in there and then I can see it release and I tell the body where it needs to release as it's releasing through the BGI lens, which has been really, really cool to watch and learn from those people.
wow. What's your favorite thing about the BGI technique and kind of that transformation you see in people's bodies when you do that kind of technique on them?
Yeah, this is a great question. I think with the BGI, my absolute favorite thing to see in the patients is how they themselves start to learn and adapt to those tensions, and they can take that with them in the future. So when they have those similar experiences show up again, they know how to handle it and they can learn through their body how to manage and move through life much easefully and without creating more dis-ease or discomfort. So,
Wow, I love that.
She
yeah.
actually taught a patient recently some things that he could do. So he usually gets very, very ill when he travels. And he's already has tons of health issues from tons of different surgeries in his past. So there's lots of scar tissue, there's lots of things that are going on, but he has a really, really hard time overall with life. And just physically, mentally, his mental state, he's always happy, he's great. But I mean, he went to one of the last trips, he went to the Bahamas or British Virgin Islands, that's where it was. And he went down there for a long weekend and he was in bed for the entire 3 days and got back on the plane and came home. So yeah, just miserable. I mean, and beyond miserable. So this last time he went to Europe for 2 weeks, I want to say, and Dr. Ada taught him some things that he can do on his own. And so he did them, and he said it was the best trip he's ever had. He
Oh,
didn't get sick, he didn't have any headaches, he wasn't in bed at all, and he was able to go for all
And
of the hours every day for the 2 weeks.
and
So
actually enjoy it. Yeah.
well, and that's part of it too. If we can give our patients things to do, I don't give exercises unless somebody asks me because otherwise they're not going to do it. So if I tell them, hey, I need you to do this exercise, 9.5 times out of 10, they won't ever do them once.
That's
So I don't even waste my time. Like if you can't drink enough water, probably not going to get on the ground and do the exercises, that sort of a thing. So I've been doing this for a long time and it doesn't make them a bad person. It's just where they are. So Dr. Ada was able to give him some techniques and he came back thrilled out of his mind. And so did his family because they weren't with somebody who was laying in bed miserable, missing out on things. So
wow.
just quality of life, I mean, that's really what
Yeah.
it's down to. Who
Well,
cares how long you live if you're miserable?
absolutely. And I think it's really cool that you can, Dr. Ada can give them things to do when they're away from you. So they actually there is some kind of an element of self-treatment that is available to them if they choose to use it, which is really cool in my opinion.
absolutely. I mean, you are responsible for your health, and I'm just really wanting to help give you the tools so you can be more responsible for your own health.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is like we have so many patients that we don't need dependency. It's like we don't want dependent patients. Like we don't care if you need us. If you need us, that's great. We're here. We don't have any problem with that, but we're not going to create a dependency. We teach our patients how to do things, why you're taking the supplements you're taking. If you feel like this, you can increase it, decrease it. Here's why. Here's how your liver functions. This is what happens here. This is how this conversion works. That's why you need this supplement for this one in order to be utilized. This is what you want to do as far as a stretch goes. This is what you want to do as far as whatever. So we give them tools that they can do so they're not dependent upon us. And, I think that's the biggest gift, because we do live in a society where dependence is lucrative, let's just say.
Yeah, well said.
We don't like that. We want you to have the tools so you can take care of yourself and your family.
Well, this was a great conversation. And Dr. Ada, I just want to thank you for joining us today, because I learned a little something. I didn't know this technique existed, and it does sound magical. So I think it's really, I love that we got to learn about it, and our listeners are getting to learn about it as well. And yeah, you're at Lakeway Wellness if anybody wants to see you, if they're local. So thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to you coming to the office so you can experience BGI.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you again. And thank you, Dr. Jen, and everybody for listening. If you haven't joined our school community yet, I'll put the link in the show notes below. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, everybody, bye-bye. That wraps up another episode of Speaking Holistically. Thank you for listening. We hope today's conversation gave you new insights and inspiration to take charge of your health. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, be sure and join the Speaking Holistically school community by clicking the link in the show notes. There, you'll get access to daily podcast episodes, weekly live Q&As, educational content, and so much more. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, be well, stay curious, and keep speaking holistically.